Oh, to have the cannabis.
There were so many
They've got
cars
some
on the
pretty
road.
yeah.
Intelligence
Because people's are really
It's a one-man job.
Well, no, because he ended up.
And then, but no, tomorrow night we bus going to the electro swing experience, which is behind the Delta Early Fantasy Building. That'll be fun. And
I think it's just because they tried to make it that it was.
I love wandering around and just watching. It's your thing, isn't it? Yeah. What are the cars tomorrow night?
I feel like instead of everything
There's a lot. And they'll be
critical
riding
sense
and great.
essential. Essential, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Just roll away. Not.
Yeah, she's. I think all these people that she was trying to, install communism.
One down.
What's happening about the phone?
You're going to sit with us.
I just don't think there's such a thing as a. There's no such thing as a perfect leader. There's no such thing as a perfect parent.
I felt that first. I felt that.
Okay.
I know.
Here we go.
Not ideal, but didn't do perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Do I blame them?
Huh?
No, because I know they were doing it. I came in for the
Acting Mayor Brosnan.
Well, we had a governance one.
Annie. Annie.
I think our crew are ready to go.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Shall I email it to you? Yes. Kia ora, everyone. We will make a start. Welcome, Fleur and team. We'll hand over to you to take it away, and Councillor Taylor will take a seat. Thank you.
Oh no, I'm going to wait for 15 minutes. 20 minutes, in fact.
Thank you so much for your time this morning and making my voice like this.
You and your
I'd like to introduce yourselves. Know the two people already, but lovely ladies who
Thank you, Fleur, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you again. I'm Rachel Morgan, a planner at Barker & Associates, and I think I've met all of you a few times now. And with me today is Lily, who was at the last workshop as well, Lily Lawson, who is also from Barker & Associates and is supporting with the rezoning request topic.
I'm finding it hard to hear.
Yeah, can you
Oh, sorry.
Very
Is this-
happy. I don't think they'll
No,
work.
don't
They're not
think
working.
See?
No, these are in. Well, the last one.
This is in public, though.
This is in public.
This is,
Is the volume just down low?
Well, I can't. The last one I couldn't hear anything. Yeah.
I'll talk very,
Sorry.
very loudly, shall I?
More attention.
Project your voice.
I will, yes, okay. And I know that you have a really busy afternoon as well, so I'll try and keep the presentation really short, and please just stop me if you've got questions as we go through. So, okay. Oh, I like that, okay. So the purpose of the workshop today is really just to give you an update on the submissions that we've received on relating to rezoning. And I know there has been some, there was a workshop earlier in the year about this, so this is really just building on that and really just taking you through the next steps and our approach to assessing those requests. And that is needed because the hearing for the rezoning is coming up very quickly, and we'll take you through the timing for that soon. So that'll be the first thing, process and timelines for submissions and how we're assessing them. A little bit of background, but keep that really brief, and just spend most of the time taking you through what the actual rezoning requests are, what the submitters have asked for, and then the sorts of things that us as planners need to look at when we're considering those submissions. But we're not going into any detail today about how we're proposing to respond. We just haven't quite got to that point yet. So in terms of the process and timeframes, so the planning report, or the Section 42A report with the council officers' recommendations on the submissions, is due on May 7th, which is seems like a way away, but it's actually coming up pretty quickly. Following the council's planning report going up, the submitters will then have their opportunity to provide their own evidence and reporting. And then the hearing is due, the hearing will be happening on the 18th of June. Mana Ahuriri Trust have got a number of submission points in, and they have requested an extension to that time frame to July. I understand the hearing panel's still yet to respond, so we're just working to that June 18 timeframe at the moment, and we'll see what happens with that over the next little while. I'm pretty sure that you will all be very familiar or reasonably familiar with what's happening in the RMA reform space at the moment. There's not a lot that we can do about this until we actually have new national policy direction that we can respond to, but it's just something there to have in the back of your mind. So we know we've got the Fast Track Approvals Act, which is now law, and there are a few Napier projects in there which are nationally and regionally significant. And then the other two big ones, which will have an impact on the rezoning, depending on the timing, will be any changes to the national policy statement on urban development and highly productive land, perhaps to a slightly lesser extent. But as I understand it, it's probably not going to be to mid to late later this year that we'll actually have new national policy direction in place. So, yeah, we'll just respond to that when it comes. So, how did we get here? I'm not going to go through this in detail because you've seen it. You've seen it many times. But the rezoning or the zoning in the PDP is really just continuing on a lot of the strategic and spatial planning work that you have been doing over a number of years. From the Napier spatial picture in 2022 to that more detailed work we did on the high-level structure plans. So we'll certainly be using this as a base to respond to submissions that are seeking rezoning or a change from the zoning that we've proposed in the PDP. And there was a lot of detailed work that was done through these processes that we can draw from. I might just zoom in a little bit. Submission overview. So we've got about 150 submissions requesting rezoning or retaining the zoning that was proposed. And look, to be fair, the vast majority of those submissions related to the medium and high density residential zones that were proposed, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But there were also a range of more detailed submissions that we'll talk about around the commercial zone extents, around the city centre and other areas as well. Quite a few around the open space zoning and quite a few in the rural area as well. So I know this is really hard to read and we can zoom in on it and we'll talk about it in a bit more detail, but this is just really, this is just some mapping that we've done to show you spatially where these rezoning requests are. So as you can see, if I just scroll down, and you'll be familiar with the Ahuriri Station, the Ahuriri Station site, and then you can see further in the urban area, it's quite concentrated in terms of the rezoning requests that we've got, and then we'll delve into a bit more detail on these ones around that Niani area in a moment. So quite targeted, I would say. So in terms of the residential rezoning, so this really fell into two camps. So on the right is the proposed district plan zoning. So we had those that were looking to delete or reduce the extent of the medium and high density zones, and that ranged from just general opposition, we don't like it, to requests for particular sites or streets to be rezoned. Some of those did relate to heritage as well, so requests for new heritage overlays and or changing the zoning where a heritage or heritage character overlay applies as well, and I know we've talked about that previously. The ones that we hadn't talked about previously were where submissions are looking to increase or upzone what was proposed in the notified plan. So that includes Kent Terrace and the area around Kent Terrace, which we'll all be familiar with. So that site is currently within the large lot zone. It enables site sizes of around about 3,000 square metres. They're looking for a general residential zone application in that area. And that will need to be evaluated as a next step. The other one to note is there are a number of sites that Mana Ahuriri Trust are looking to upzone, and these are really quite targeted sites and areas. So that includes Hospital Terrace and Napier Terrace, Auckland Road and Whararangi Road, which has already been rezoned through this process, and they're just looking for some targeted amendments to the provisions that we've proposed to apply to that site. So that's something to work through. Then in terms of the significant rezoning requests, there's probably a few. So we've got Ahuriri Station and Severn Precinct. So in terms of Ahuriri Station, the submission is quite broad. So there's a couple of options that have been put forward in that submission. The first is to apply like a future urban zone or a holding zone, if I can call it that, over the site, which essentially provides an indication that development may occur there in the future, but it would be subject to a future plan change and rezoning process. The other option that's included in the submission is to apply live zonings to the area, which would enable development. So that's in the early stages, and there are some discussions with Mana Ahuriri Trust to work through those options at the moment. For the Severn Precinct, perhaps I'll talk to that on the next slide where we, I might just do that now so you can understand. That's this area through here. So that area is actually partially already zoned for large format retail, and we've had some of these discussions through the future development strategy. Through that process, we've recommended including or expanding that Severn Precinct for, we've just broadly called it business use. And the Mana Ahuriri Trust submission is to essentially expand that large format retail zone to the west. And that ties in or is related to in some ways the request to enable large format retail in this Corunna Bay precinct as well. So we'll assess those two matters together. So then just going up. And I've just touched on the fact that there's just a bit of uncertainty around the timing. So the hearing would be June or potentially July. Riverbend is another key one. So there's been a number of submissions relating to this site, Riverbend site, but also the surrounds as well. So I might just skip to the plan that shows that for you. So that's this area here. So we've had the submission from Tawanui Developments, I believe it is. So looking for a mixture of medium density residential zoning across that site with provision for a local centre zone as well. They're also proposing to include this area to the south here. It's a little bit hard to see. Not including that within a residential zone or anything like that, but wanting to specify that that area is needed for stormwater management purposes and seeking to specifically enable that through the planning rules. And while we're on this, there are also submissions from these landowners here. They're 3 separate submissions, and this is all rural production zone at the moment, and they're looking to apply a settlement zone to that site. And the settlement zone is currently what applies in Bayview, and it's essentially a low density residential zone. So around anywhere between 800 to about 1,500 square metre lots is what that zone would enable. So that's what those landowners are looking for there. And then we also have a reasonably detailed submission from Mission Estate, and they're looking for a range of amendments to their development area to better reflect the development that's occurring there and their updates to their development plans.
Is that the top one, or is that the one down the bottom on Church Road?
It's both, I understand.
Both.
Yeah.
So, so this particular, mission from mission,
Yeah.
development, that you will, and you also have some submissions related to the hills area,
So then moving through, I've covered some of this already in relation to the large format retail areas, but there are also a few other commercial rezoning requests to be aware of. So the first one, it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to do this so you can see it properly. So this area in through here is the that Bayswater car site. So that's on Carlisle Street. So what they're seeking here is an extension to the mixed use zone down Carlisle Street to cover that area essentially. It's a little bit hard to see it without the zoning underneath, but the mixed use zone essentially stops here and comes down the other side of Carlisle Street.
What if speaking to your
Oh, sorry. And then the other is this Wellesley Street rezoning. So currently the mixed use zone stops on the northern side of Wellesley Street, and there's a submitter looking to expand that on the southern side.
What's that one currently? Sorry.
It is high density residential.
And they want it to be mixed use.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. There's not a lot of detail in the submission, but presumably to provide for more. The heights are within range, so presumably to provide for some more commercial activity. Yeah.
Sorry, what do they want to do with that area?
So that site in the proposed district plan is currently within the high density residential zone, and they're wanting to apply the mixed use zone, which enables heights, well, currently, under the proposed plan, enables heights up to 24 metres. So that's more than what's enabled in the high density zone. And it also provides for a broader range of commercial activities as well. The other one to point out, so there you can see it a little bit better now. So that's the Carlisle Street one I was talking about. And then the other one around the city centre is just outside actually. So we're it's just to the north along Marine Parade. So the city centre zone just stops right here, and we're obviously just right here, looking to expand that zone up to the north to apply the city centre zone. And then perhaps just the other one to point out, not all of them are shown on here, but we have had a number of submissions from, the likes of Foodstuffs and Z Energy and those sorts of companies who are looking to expand some of the local and neighbourhood centre zones, really to reflect what has happened on the ground. So it's not necessarily, well, as far as I can see, it's not about expanding that zone to cover new residential areas. It's really applying to car parking areas and that sort of thing, which generally operate and function as part of that neighbouring activity. So then, now we have others. Right. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Excuse me, are all the
Must-
submissions available to the public to read?
Yes, they are.
On our website, I think.
Yes.
Yes. Makes sense. Yeah, we talked about that.
So you can, you can take these maps and if you need any information on submission numbers and things like that, we can easily provide that. So we've talked about the Riverbend site and the sites to the south. The other one, just to point out in terms of rural rezoning, is the area up in Bayview. So we do have some broad submissions, which is seeking just a general upzoning in and around Bayview. But more specifically, we have a submission looking at the site to the south of the existing Bayview settlement to include it within the rural lifestyle zone, or it might even be the settlement zone. Wanted to double check that. And just to note that that is the area that's currently identified as urban development in the HPUD's 2017 strategy, which applies to this land down here. So, yeah.
How big is that area? I can see it there, but, and
Ooh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. We can look that up. The submission, you mean?
yeah, the area, and what would they achieve with that submission of the change? What's their aim?
Oh, this wider area, you mean?
Yeah, the area you've got, no, the small area that's.
The small area. I think as I read the submission, they're really just looking to achieve a bit more development potential on their
Okay.
site. Yeah.
And what size is it roughly? Like,
Just gonna look it up now. It's not as big as the area that was identified in HPUDs. It's just one site from memory.
Slightly larger than 4,000 metres squared.
slightly larger.
Larger than 4,000 metres squared.
So it's a small site.
So they would be wanting to cut that into sections, is that what you? And how many would they get with the proposal? Sorry.
That's okay.
1,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if their submission was accepted,
Yeah,
that would be an additional 4 sites based on what they're asking for. So it's small numbers.
it looks odd just to go and do it there, doesn't it? No.
Yeah. And I mean, all we're doing today is taking you through what the submissions have asked for.
Yeah.
We haven't been through that exercise yet of forming an opinion as to whether that's a good outcome or not. That's still to come.
Well, just for Hayley and I, that ward councillors out there, what ramifications does it have when someone's gone for an area like this, that neighbours will be wanting to get in on the act too?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's really the whole purpose of the hearing process. So the landowner here or the submitter here can turn up to the hearing panel and put their case forward.
Yeah.
And it's really the hearing panel will weigh up what they're saying versus what others are saying when they come to a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Lily will just take you through some of the points coming through on the open space zoning.
Thank you. So we received 6 submissions on open space rezoning. The first one, and they're all quite specific to the particular areas, Mariah Nui Golf Course Precinct, the golf club is requesting a rezone for the portion of the sites that's currently zoned rural production and wanting to add a precinct to allow for the development of the golf course, and recognising that it has some activities that aren't provided for in the open space zoning. Foreshore Reserve, which is shown up there, Spriggs Park and Perfume Point, that has been requested to be rezoned for open space to allow for development opportunities with a tidal rock pool. Clive Square West, there was a submission requesting that the block to the west of Clive Square was rezoned from city to open space. for the marine industrial special zone, it relates to a very small portion of the harbour, and there's been a submission from Napier City Council to rezone that to boat harbour, and that's just to provide for some additional activities that aren't provided for in the marine industrial zone. The stormwater and ecology zone, there's been a request from Napier City Council to align it with the master planning process, and from DOC a submission on a portion of the airport zone to rezone it to open space because of the wetland that is currently located there.
Could I ask about Clive Square West? Whereabouts is that again, and what is it now, and what they want done with it?
So it's currently city centre zone, and the submission requested that Napier City Council purchase it and extend.
Is that Clive Square or?
Yeah, the block to the west where Clive Square Dental is. So it's used for commercial purposes currently, and the submission requested that.
That whole block, is it?
Yeah.
How deep? Just the street front?
Yeah, just the street front, the block immediately to the west. They just said that the Clive Square is utilised so well and that it could be useful to have it expanded.
Sorry, what expanded? The square expanded?
The square to become more open space. Yeah.
Sorry, who was the submitted?
Good question. Yeah, it was just a member of the public. Yeah, I can look that up for you.
Thank you. Sorry, just being nosy.
Yeah.
That's where the bus stop is.
Yes.
And I wonder if I've just realised that we haven't taken, there's a couple of submissions we should probably point out as well around Ahuriri, which Lily will take you through. And yeah, that relates to this area and through here, which currently has a mix of industrial and mixed use zoning.
Yeah, so these submissions, there were two submissions seeking that the industrial zone or part of the industrial zone is changed to mixed use, and that was because of concerns from residents about the amenity or you know the impact on amenity from industrial activities. So that's the hot pink colour that you can see. Those are the parts that have been requested to be rezoned to mixed use, and then the portion of the industrial zone, which is the purple that extends onto Battery Road, that has been requested to be rezoned by Z Energy back to industrial. It's currently mixed use, and that is because the site's used for hazardous substances, so they've requested that that be industrial zoning.
So sorry, just you can provide me some clarity. So if it's industrial and they want mixed use, does that mean there's potential reverse sensitivity issues with the industrial? And that's outside our control, isn't it?
The plan will consider some impacts on reverse sensitivity, and obviously when the zoning was proposed, they did consider those impacts. But yeah, this is from residents who live in the area who want more mixed use rather than to be adjacent to industrial. And that would reduce the reverse sensitivity on those residential activities.
Yep.
So that
They want more
pink one,
sensitivity.
Yes, they want more sensitivity.
isn't that the shunting yards, Kiwi Rail shunting yard?
And then the fuel disappears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they own those, don't they?
Well, just because it's zone changes doesn't mean anything's going to change on the side.
Okay. So I think all in all, for the submissions, they're reasonably focused, I would say. There's some things that we need to work through, and there's some further technical advice that we need to get. But yeah, reasonably focused. So in terms of, so now next steps, those are just what the submissions say. Now we're going into the next stage of, okay, what do we think about that? And there are a range of things that we need to consider, and this is just very high level, but they're all the things that you would expect we would need to think about. They are, of course, the regional policy statement, the operative regional policy statement, which is currently aligned with the HPUD's growth strategy. And the regional policy statement is actually really quite directive about where and how to provide for urban growth in line with that HPUD strategy. So that's something to bear in mind. Sitting above that are, of course, the national policy statements as well, which came after the regional policy statement. So we do need to consider both, and we do need to give effect to both of those. And as I mentioned before, the MPS for urban development and highly productive land are really the operative form, are the key things to consider, as well as those overarching Resource Management Act tests. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is really here for you. And it's just really reinforcing that policy direction of the MPS for urban development is really about providing well-functioning urban environments, supporting improved market competition in housing affordability and housing choice, and also, responding to the effects of climate change as well as part of that. The highly productive land is pretty simple. It's really about protecting highly productive land for productive uses. And the RPS echoes those sentiments as well, but in a much more specific way. So just a quick note on the future development strategy. So the timing, well, as is always the case, the timing is always a little bit of a challenge. The hearing for the FDS is happening starting on the 26th of June. The aim is that the FDS will be adopted in, did I say June? I said March, sorry. The 26th of March, with the likely to be adopted by June this year. Which will also coincide with, yes?
Yeah. I should do it and I can ask afterwards. Just who's hearing that hearing?
So there are 5 independent hearing commissioners. They've been delegated to hear the submissions and make recommendations back to the joint committee.
Yep.
And then the joint committee will make recommendations back to the 3 councils to adopt or otherwise. So the timing for that doesn't 100% align with the rezoning. So until we have an adopted FDS, we have to consider the HPUD's 2017 strategy. And as I mentioned, in terms of our officer assessment, there's some key steps that we need to work through. We're obviously looking at the information provided in the submissions, and that is quite varied, I have to say. Some are quite high level and others provide a lot of technical information that we do need to work through. But we're also looking at information that council hold, and we're also getting advice from our experts where we need it on specific sites. So 2 key ones, infrastructure, engineering, transport are really key, as well as economic advice, particularly around the large format retail.
Yeah.
We really need to look at that quite carefully. So we're getting some advice on that. Requests to rezone rural land for urban zoning, again, really need quite a detailed level of assessment for that, and that really needs to cover the full spectrum of technical analysis that you would expect to see as part of a plan change process. So that will look at things like infrastructure and engineering, but we also need to look at soils, visual matters, geotech, flooding assessments, and that sort of thing. to give confidence in assessing the substance of the submission. So I believe that is about it. So, yeah, as I say, it was really just an overview of what the submissions are saying to just give you a sense of where it's sitting. The next step is to go into do that technical work and develop the recommendations for the hearing panel. So, yeah, any questions?
Looks like you're off the hook. Oh, these are finally working. Don't think there's any questions. Really clear, guys, and you've taken us on the journey along the way. We know where we're at, so I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just quickly, that Clive Square, that was Hamish Blackberry, just Fijoas.
Just Fijoas. Oh. Oh, it might be a market guy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sell it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sue.
What bit?
You've got 7.
Clive West.
Yeah, what bit is it?
What bit?
Yeah, what part? What do you mean?
I think he wants it to be open space on the opposite side of the road. That's what I know.
Oh, okay. So it's strange.
It's weird.
Yes, Sally, that's what I meant.
Oh, yes, I do.
I had a silly question. I thought the golf course was
Got
owned
now?
by the council by land.
And then the business is leased.
Doing
Yeah,
a
yeah,
change.
I've got a feeling.
Yeah.
Nice little zones that put
Mm.
houses on
Sites of significance to Māori.
that just doesn't line up with the thinking is that Flume have the answer.
You're going to Airbnb your new lecture?
They can find out really easy, they were pushing a button.
They can
Stop that.
Would have put it in a SharePoint to find out.
stop.
Somebody wants it.
God, they're working on it too well.
We,
I just finished this loop before.
the shop.
No, I feel bad for a week. I'll be over
She
it.
actually does
I
it
need
by
to
herself. She runs it.
It's been pretty good, actually. I'll give
And I
him
forgot
his
about
dues.
it.
Yeah,
Really good. Not as distracting.
She likes to
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And plus,
Graham
because
should
we
be
had
the,
done it up
What's
to
that?
and buy new
What's that?
furniture.
golf course.
Which one?
The one in Napier.
I wouldn't mind.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Getting
Council
some
land.
money out of it.
I've got a feeling the land might be.
Oh.
I'm not 100%. I've just got a feeling.
If she.
And what, they lease it?
Well, yeah, maybe, or it's, I don't know if it's
Sold.
leasehold or it's
Well,
up in reserves.
Sure, you could buy.
Well,
Haven't yet. She doesn't understand
Just-
because.
I may be well on track too.
Oh, she's, I don't know, but mattress. It's not modern day. Kept there.
Good luck.
This one here, and put it in
Is there one standing there, she'll get in.
move that over, like that. So I take that out and put it in here. And the person's on Zoom, and we can. We'll be able to see that. Oh, the Art Deco Trust, look at this.
Yeah, no, I'll buy it from them, they don't have it in stock.
Oh, right. Did you go look?
So can I have? Oh, not the articulation, I went to Decorum.
No, Art Deco Shop.
I know, I think it will be, but it would be the worst thing to do.
I tell you who else has got a shop. I'll show you what yours is. There's that one, it's Jeffrey's.
If they're there, they're not looking at heroes, innocent ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Intimidated by them.
Right. So will Tanya be able to see this map when I start it out?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
I got one on me.
As long as it's not my knee. My clicky knee.
The dodgy too, yeah, he walked back and was making it fit, there was a good misjudgment. The forcing to it's just excuse to throw new ones,
But
I know how you guys work.
Can't catch me.
so uncomfortable.
But Gareth, I had to.
You're only 2 years old.
What?
I heard about that.
He's been the same thing as a woman.
Are we not, I wear these all the time. I've actually got like old faithful, old favourites.
I've procrastinated because I was good like that with my clothes. I could have thrown them out since it was much.
Yeah.
Because I just look at all the dollars sitting there and I'm going, well, last time I
Yeah,
did
because
that.
we have to get something else.
It'll make you feel better about it. It's easier to do it, you know.
I'll get to that. But someone said, put all your clothes on a coat hanger one way, and every time you wear them, put them back the other way. And at the end of the year, if you've got some going this way,
Yeah.
then you need to look hard at it.
Yeah. It's good advice. Hey. Wonderful advice.
Yeah.
People arrive.
They always want to reach the bank anyway. I'm down to 2 pairs of
But
shorts.
again, it's their combination of, you know, you've got to make sure that.
Let's go. Places to be. I think
return time sit in, because if we sit differently and then you've got your no return time, they can charge maybe for the extra year. That's what
We can do that too.
Yeah.
Still keep it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is a new meeting, this is public.